2011 was going to be the biggest North Dakota State Fair yet, with acts booked like Kid Rock, Lady Antebellum, Toby Keith, and many more. Camping was booked solid, commercial booths were sold out, and 4-H, FFA, and open class exhibits were being created and submitted. Plenty of new events were planned, and the staff was moving forward with fair preparations while getting ready to welcome more than 300,000 people onto the fairgrounds. Unfortunately, due to the devastating flood of the Mouse River in Minot, the 2011 North Dakota State Fair went into the record books as the first North Dakota State Fair to have ever been canceled in its 47-year history. The first threat of flooding occurred in late May, 2 months before the opening of the North Dakota State Fair. It had been a very wet winter for central North Dakota and southern Saskatchewan, and the Mouse River that flows from Canada through Minot was already nearing the top of its riverbanks. Dikes were put into place, allowing for the river to safely rise without inundating the city. At this time, the fair was told that it would not see any water on the grounds. The predictions were true, and the fairgrounds and the majority of the city stayed dry. Planning for the fair continued to move forward without hesitation for nearly another month. Over the weekend of June 18th and 19th, southern Saskatchewan received several inches of rain throughout the Mouse River Basin, and on Monday, June 20th, city and state fair officials were alerted to the fact that there would be historic flooding throughout the city of Minot and the North Dakota State Fairgrounds. At this time, widespread flooding was inevitable, and the city could not be protected from the more than 10 feet of water projected to inundate the region in only 2 days. At this time, it was also announced that a mandatory evacuation of the city of Minot and the fairgrounds would be ordered by Wednesday, June 22nd. A discussion was held to decide which of the fair's 21 buildings and equipment could be saved in only 48 hours before the floodwaters arrived on grounds. The decision was made to put all efforts toward saving the new North Dakota State Fair grandstand and the State Fair Center. The State Fair staff went to work moving equipment and items necessary to the fair's success into the State Fair Center where it would hopefully stay dry. On Tuesday, June 21st, the fair took the initiative to construct emergency 10 feet tall ring dikes around the State Fair Center and the grandstand. These dikes would allow the fair to protect $100 million in infrastructure while leaving the fair's other 19 buildings unprotected. After evaluating updated crest predictions on Tuesday, the decision was made to increase the dikes to 12 feet tall. Recognizing the time was of the essence, contractors began using dirt from the fair's 3/8-mile dirt racetrack to add to the height of the dikes. While the dikes were being constructed, the State Fair office staff evacuated the offices and moved all necessary equipment into the basement of the Minot Convention and Visitors Bureau, where the office staff would work for the next month. On Wednesday, June 22nd at 1 p.m., Minot's civil defense emergency siren sounded, informing everyone in the city of the immediate need to evacuate. The inevitable had happened. The Mouse River had breached the first of many dikes, and the inundation of the floodwaters had begun. The fairgrounds, being located on the east end of town, had at least 10 more hours to continue working before the waters reached the grounds. The crew worked tirelessly through the night into Thursday to finish the dikes. On Thursday, June 23rd, not even 36 hours since the first flood notification was given, floodwaters entered the grounds while the trucks were still dumping dirt on the dikes. On Thursday night, the dikes were finished just in time. 10 staff members from both the grounds and maintenance crews were left in the grandstand and in the State Fair Center to man the pumps, control the water seepage, and ensure that the buildings stayed dry. Without the dedication of these staff members, the buildings would not have been saved from the floodwaters. Due to its high elevation, the northeast corner of the parking lot was the only area of the fairgrounds that stayed dry throughout the flood. This became Command Central. As the water depth grew up to 10 feet deep, the only way to access the buildings and fairgrounds was by boat. This location is where boats were docked for transportation of State Fair employees, as they would switch 12-hour shifts and bring in supplies such as fuel for the generators and pumps, as well as additional sandbags. On Saturday, June 25th, the battle of keeping the grandstand and the State Fair Center dry was nearly lost. The current of the floodwaters was so strong that it began to erode the dikes. Tarps were used to cover the quickly eroding dikes, and the National Guard Black Hawk helicopters were called in to drop 1-ton sandbags to help further secure the dikes. Fortunately, the dikes made it through the night, and on Sunday, June 26th, the floodwaters crested with a depth of 8 to 10 feet throughout the fairgrounds and up to 12 feet deep in the city of Minot. The official river depth was 1,561.72 feet above sea level. At this time, 12,000 people were displaced from their homes, and 13 of the North Dakota State Fair staff members had completely lost their homes to the floodwaters. The North Dakota State Fair was still scheduled to start in only 26 days. On Tuesday, June 28th, water began to recede, and after monitoring the National Weather Service hydrograph, State Fair officials created a timeline for cleaning up the grounds to host the fair. Water was predicted to be down enough to start removal of the dikes on July 11th. This will be a very tight deadline, but if predictions stay true, there could still be a 2011 fair. With the fair being 11 days away, there would not be time to prepare the buildings to host the more than 38,000 static exhibits within the competitive exhibits programming. Also, due to the damage to the barns, support buildings, and infrastructure, there would be no livestock shows at the fair. At this time, it was also known that none of the 19 buildings, including the commercial buildings, would be usable during the fair. No grass could be used, as it would be all dead and covered in muck and mud. Tough decisions had to be made by the board of directors and management team. The only aspects of the fair that could still be hosted in 2011 would include shopping, fair food, carnival rides, and concerts. The new plan would allow all of these aspects to still take place. Commercial booths would be moved into the State Fair Center, food booths would still be located on asphalt in front of the grandstand, the carnival would be set up in its regular location, and concerts could still take place in the grandstand. It wouldn't be the same event that fairgoers had come to expect in the past, but nonetheless it would still be a successful state fair, providing a much-needed distraction to the state and community. Water remained on the fairgrounds at a depth of 4 feet for another week as fair preparations were still being made. On Friday, July 8th, it was reported that heavy rainfall in the Mouse River Valley had created an updated hydrograph showing water at its current depth on the fairgrounds until Thursday, July 14th, 9 days prior to the opening day of the fair. Having water off of the grounds by July 11th was a tight yet manageable deadline. Not being able to remove the dikes until July 14th while cleaning up the grounds after the largest natural disaster the fair had ever experienced would not be an option. On Saturday, July 9th, the State Fair Board held an emergency board meeting and unanimously voted to cancel the 2011 North Dakota State Fair. The following weeks were full of work not typical to planning a fair. Tasks such as refunding tickets, sending back competitive exhibit entries, and canceling entertainment became the new norm. 1 month after being evacuated from the fairgrounds, the State Fair office staff was able to move back to the main offices in the State Fair Center on July 20th. The State Fair Center electrical and water even worked, unlike the majority of the buildings and homes in the valley. The State Fair staff spent what would have been the 9 days of the fair pumping water off the fairgrounds. They also started the cleanup process by removing all of the debris that the flood left behind, such as tires, hay bales, and garbage. The cleanup process included removing the monstrous dikes that protected the State Fair Center and grandstand, while working with FEMA and state officials to ensure the proper processes were used and paperwork was filed. Requests for proposals were also made public, as the cleaning of the buildings would need to be handled by outside contractors for the 19 damaged buildings on the fairgrounds. All of the electrical that ran through the grounds providing services for outdoor vendors and campers was ruined and in need of replacement. The asphalt covering the grounds was severely damaged from truck traffic and heavy equipment that worked on the dikes. The cleanup and rebuilding process will take years for the city of Minot, as 20% of the city sustained flood damage, with more than 4,100 homes being damaged. The water covered so many homes that 2,376 had 6 to 10 feet of water, and an additional 805 homes were damaged beyond repair. The city and the fairgrounds will continue to move forward and look towards opportunities of the future and the next North Dakota State Fair.